promotional fee has been paid to ABC by American Airlines, a proud sponsor of the ABC telecast of the 1988 Winter Olympics.
1968 was a great year for the Winter Games. Peggy Fleming won a gold medal for figure skating. And I fell in love with Peggy Fleming. The next year, I made my mother take me to the stage door to get her autograph after one of those ice shows. Well, I was so dumbstruck, I couldn't even look at her, but I still have the autograph. Nowadays, when I wobble around the rink once a year, I think, Peggy, if you were with me, what a great team we'd be.
The Wonder Years, a new kind of comedy premiering as a series in March.
Topping the news tonight, we'll tell you how the city of Minneapolis sold a man a stolen truck they had to take back.
And Dr. Michael Breen shows you the very human side of the AIDS tragedy in his special assignment.
And in sports, another great effort by the U.S. hockey team. We'll have all the highlights.
And we'll show you the advantage that 3M is trying to give the U.S. luge team. It's all coming up live from Calgary on the Eyewitness News Update.
When you want to go from freewheeling to 4x4 fun, Chevy S10 lets you do what Ford and Toyota can't. Shift and keep right on going with standard InstaTrack. Plus, get new lower prices on most S10s and $500 cash back.
Chevy S10 today, Chevy truck.
This typewriter and I have been through a lot of deadlines together. Kind of shows, too. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's kind of like my Yellow Pages, U.S. West Direct. I've got some other directories around here, but none of them have as much information as this book right here. You can tell by my doodling. It's the one that I use. I couldn't write a better book myself.
U.S. West Direct, the one that gets used.
Burgers to my right. Whoa! Burgers to my left. No! Whoa! There's another one. I've had it with burgers. Enough. I'm burned out on burgers. And I know just who to tell. Because right now, when you buy any Arby's roast beef sandwich and say, I'm burned out on burgers, you get a regular roast beef sandwich free. There's another one. Hey, burned out on burgers? Don't tell me. Tell Arby's. Buy any roast beef sandwich and get a regular roast beef free.
You're watching KSTP-TV, Minnesota's News Channel 5.
Live from Minnesota's news channel, KSTP Channel 5. Stan Turner, Ruth Spencer, Dave Dahl, and Mark Curtis bring you the Eyewitness News Update.
Tonight in Calgary, the 5 Minnesotans on the U.S. Olympic hockey team joined their teammates in a crucial face-off with the Soviets. Oh, what a game that was. Drained emotionally, are you? I think we are. Good evening, everybody. That game will be just one part of the most extensive local coverage of the games. Coverage will bring you live via News Star.
But first, this story. What if the city sold you a car that turned out to be stolen? Every week, the city of Minneapolis auctions off cars towed to the impound lot but never claimed. Jackie Renner reports on a mix-up last month that has police calling for better procedures for keeping track of stolen vehicles.
A man from the Minneapolis impound lot came to take back Dennis Peterson's pickup today. The same 1977 Ranger Peterson paid $300 for at an auction at the impound lot 3 weeks ago. The same truck for which he and his wife received a title from the state showing they own it free and clear.
Everybody makes mistakes. I can't blame them because we're all human, of course, but it's a screw up.
That Ford pickup was first brought here to the city impound lot last December. Police stopped a woman who was driving it without a license. Once here, officials discovered the truck had been reported stolen in Mississippi back in 1986. Police told the impound lot to hold on to the truck while they investigated. They told the owner she'd be getting the truck back. Owner Gail Stamper, who lives in Memphis, called the impound lot to ask when.
They told me that it had been sold at auction. We've been calling lawyers yesterday afternoon to see what we could do about it. We were really upset, I'm telling you.
Traffic engineer Michael Monahan supervises the impound lot for the city's Public Works Department.
In the process of auctioning off 5,000 vehicles sometimes a year, when you have one mistake, and we've been doing this for 6 years, I feel that is still a very good record.
The city reimbursed Peterson for repairs he made, along with what the truck cost him. He charged an extra $100 for his inconvenience. In all, the mix-up cost taxpayers about $400, but tonight Gail Stamper's truck is back at the impound lot, waiting for her to pick it up. Jackie Renner, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
The man who heads the auto theft unit insists that police have had problems with the impound lot before, and Lieutenant Bob Collins is demanding changes in the way the stolen vehicles are handled. Traffic engineer Monahan promises to meet with police on the problem.
Money is dividing students at Augsburg College in Minneapolis tonight. Dave Andrews explains they're debating the ethics of a $500,000 donation from Elroy Stock. He's a man who sent thousands of racist letters to racially mixed families.
For several years, Elroy Stock, shown at this Augsburg groundbreaking ceremony last year, has been one of the school's largest benefactors. He donated $500,000 for the construction of this new communications building on campus. Today, at a specially called meeting to discuss the controversy surrounding his racist letter writing, some students argued the school could not ethically accept money from such a man.
I think there's really an underlying meaning to accepting the money. If our college is supposed to stand for diversity and acceptance of all the races, aren't we going against it by taking this money?
The school has already decided it will not name the new building wing after Stock, as originally planned. But Augsburg President Charles Anderson says returning the money would only hurt the students, and some students agree.
I think it's very appropriate that we use the money for this building in a retaliation, because every student is going to be using the building. And so isn't it fitting that, are we going against this man and his actions in the letter writing, in that every student, no matter what religion, no matter what race, is going to be using it and benefiting from it?
One person at today's meeting argued if Augsburg officials would refuse to accept Stock's money and give it back to him, that loss of $500,000 might actually be offset by increased contributions from people who would admire that kind of strong stand against racism. At Augsburg College, I'm Dave Andrews, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
Now, Augsburg President Charles Anderson says that while he abhors Stock's letter-writing campaign, he would still welcome any future unrestricted contributions Stock should ever want to make to Augsburg College. Ruth?
Hockey news tops the coverage tonight from Calgary, where Mark Curtis and Wendy Lubavitch lead the biggest local TV crew at the Winter Games. And they join us live right now via News Star with the Minnesota stories. And guys, not a happy ending to that hockey story tonight.
Whoa.
Boy, it was a nail-biter. I'm sure it was a nail-biter at home, too. You could just feel the tension all across Canada and the U.S. tonight. I think everybody's watching.
Yeah, you know, you think back to our 6 o'clock show we had on Corey Millen, and he said today that, hey, we know as a team that we can play with the best of the world. The question was, can we beat the best in the world? Even though this wasn't the gold medal game, anytime the U.S. plays Russia, you can bet you're going to generate a lot of interest. Tonight's game at the Saddle Dome was a sellout. We mentioned at 6 that we thought this Russian team might have some weaknesses, and they did tonight, but not enough. Great comeback by the U.S. in the game. They trailed 6-2 in the third, but really got it going. Rochester's Guy Gosselin takes the shot. Todd Okerlund of Burnsville finally puts it in. That makes it 6-5, U.S. within 1. They had several more great chances, but this is the goal that really ended it for them. Valachev Fedosov scores with just over 2 minutes left in the game, and that was it as the Russians beat the U.S. 7-5. We'll have more on tonight's hockey game coming up for you later in sports. Also highlights of the North Stars and Gopher basketball. But as you know, the U.S. Olympic team won its first gold medal of the 88 games altogether last night. That was Jill Watson and Peter Oppegard winning the bronze in the figure skating.
And you know, tonight was a very big night for them. They received their medals tonight at the Olympic Plaza, which is in downtown Calgary. And our own Mike Binkley was there. It was a very touching ceremony. Mike.
Oh, it sure was. And it was about an hour and a half ago, right down there at the Olympic Plaza, that they got the medals. And the place was packed. I mean, it's always packed every night for the medal ceremonies and the fireworks that follow. But tonight it was awfully nice to see for the first time American flags down there. One going up the pole and several more in the audience. Thousands of Americans showed up for this. Of course, this means a lot to a lot of people back in Minnesota, too. And a short while ago, I talked with Peter Oppegard about his Minnesota connections. Your grandmother's awfully proud back in the Twin Cities.
Oh, I've got a lot of family back there. We worked hard for it. I hope they enjoyed it as much as we did.
How are you feeling right now?
Oh, we're feeling great.
Is it real to you yet?
Not really. We haven't slept yet, but we're enjoying every minute of it.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
he was in a hurry to run off and let it all sink in that they have finally won that bronze medal. He was nice enough to talk to us at that point. We ran into him as he was going into the medal ceremonies also tonight, and when he found out we were from the Twin Cities, he said, "Say hi to Granny and everybody else back there in Minnesota." So there you have it. A very exciting night for him and no doubt for his family back in Minnesota. Mark and Wendy?
All right, thanks, Mike. A very proud family back in St. Paul, and we're pretty proud of him, too. We're sort of his Minnesota family here. Stan, now I understand there is some big news in terms of politics in Minnesota.
Pretty big news, Wendy. You're right. Part of the national spotlight focusing on us once again. The Minnesota caucuses next Tuesday drew a pair of presidential candidates to the state today. Both finished third yesterday in the New Hampshire primary. Paul Simon is looking for support among state Democrats. A poor showing next week could mean the end of his campaign. And Republican Jack Kemp is hoping to stay ahead of Pat Robertson in the party's conservative wing. Now, you know, of course, that George Bush won the Republican primary in New Hampshire last night, but all the pre-primary polls had Robert Dole leading. He finished second. Well, we asked our political reporter Pat Milan to find out for you what happened.
On the eve of the New Hampshire primary, virtually every major poll showed Senator Bob Dole surging in popularity and on his way to beating Vice President George Bush. On Sunday night, the Eyewitness News Gallup poll showed Dole ahead of Bush by 8 points.
Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated.
The vice president ended up beating Bob Dole by a margin of 9 points, having proven the polls wrong. How did it happen? Well, Senator Dole did have the pre-election votes to win, but those people who supported him admitted they were soft. Now, that means they liked Dole, but they were not ruling out the possibility of changing their minds and voting for Bush. The Sunday poll told us that Senator Dole had the highest percentage of soft supporters of any of the 12 candidates in both parties. An exit poll shows that almost 20% of the Republican voters only made up their minds on a Republican candidate on Monday or Tuesday. When the curtains were closed and the levers were pulled, the undecided Republicans and some of those soft Dole supporters became George Bush voters. Another factor is the people of New Hampshire. They are an independent lot. They rather resent any notion that they will pick the same candidate as the voters in Iowa. And they feel the same way about polls. If you predict one thing, they have a rather nasty history of doing the opposite. Pat Milan, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
Well, two candidates the polls were not wrong about appear ready to cash it in. Democrat Bruce Babbitt and Republican Pete DuPont both say that they'll have announcements tomorrow, and both are expected to drop out of the presidential race.
Dr. Michael Breen begins his special assignment on AIDS next on The Update.
And we're going to take you back to the Winter Games in Calgary live via News Star to see how a Minnesota firm hopes to make things slipperier for U.S. team members.
Hi, I'm Tom Krebsbach, president of the brand new Midway Hyundai. Our show floor is empty right now, but on February 20th, you're going to see this car, the Hyundai Excel, the hottest selling import in America. Hyundai has challenged us to sell over 150 new cars this month. We're opening February 20th, so come in and see how much car value you can get for as little as $5,650. We're ready to set new Hyundai sales records starting Saturday, February 20th. See the car that makes sense at the dealer that makes sense, the brand new Midway Hyundai.
Ever since the State Capital Credit Union came out with its Visa card with a 14.88% interest rate, people in Minnesota found some pretty creative ways to cut up their high-interest credit cards. To see if you're eligible for an SCCU Visa card, just call 291-SCCU. It's a cut above the rest.
When you're driving for the gold, you go all out. And right now, your Lincoln Mercury dealers celebrate that same spirit with their Drive for the Gold event. An all-out effort to win your business with up to $1,000 customer cash on select models. The aerodynamic Mercury Sable, the sleek Mercury Cougar, the sporty Mercury Topaz, and other great values. Drive for the Gold. See your Lincoln Mercury dealer today.
Now the Eyewitness News market survey for tonight. The Dow fell on Wall Street nearly 5 points, but stayed above the 2,000 mark by a point. Among local stocks, Graco rose $1.63, and Pillsbury fell $2.75.
Welcome welcome back to Calgary on a rather blustery Wednesday night. You know, high tech, that seems to be the word for many of the sports during the 1988 Winter Olympics. But one sport that seems to be more technical, perhaps more precise than the other sports, that's the luge sport. Catherine Smith spent a little bit of time checking out the luge. She joins us right now live atop of our building with some insights. Catherine.
Wendy, you know, luge is a concentration sport, one where the athlete knows often the difference between winning and losing can be just hundredths of a second. But here in Calgary, there's a Minnesota corporation trying to help members of the U.S. luge team bring home a medal.
More than many of the winter sports, luge pits the athlete against himself. It's a highly psychological sport, one where the athlete's only piece of equipment is the sled.
Historically, the U.S. luge team has never been a world-class power, but some people are saying here in Calgary, all that may change. You see, this year, the U.S. luge team has a secret weapon. It's one that's made in Minnesota. It's called 3M.
As 3M's Vice President of Marketing explains it, the relationship began because 3M wanted to help an underdog.
They wanted help. They wanted financial help. They wanted technical help. And I guess it just appealed to us that here are a bunch of people struggling. I'll tell you, the odds they have are probably as great as anything outside the Jamaican bobsled team.
3M was already an official Olympic sponsor when the luge team came asking for help. What they needed was help making their sleds more aerodynamic. So the man who helped America win back America's Cup came to the rescue. The same lightweight material used on the Stars and Stripes is now helping lugers save precious seconds off their scores.
Things like this, to our knowledge, have never been done before. And so there are film systems that reduce skin friction drag. For the first time, to our knowledge, they're being used here and certainly in the America's Cup.
Even though the technology is new to the luge track, members of the American team say they think the 3M advances may help them bring home a medal.
We're so close now that the difference between, for instance, a 10th place finish and a medal, we're talking only about a tenth or 2/10 of a second per run. That's how close we are. And that's the only hurdle we've got to jump. And we're hoping that our association with 3M is going to help us jump that last hurdle, and we'll be right in there.
The 3M material has been stretched tightly over the exposed parts of the luge sleds. Hopefully, it'll help reduce air drag that's so crucial in luge. For the underdog U.S. luge team, their association with 3M has been a dream come true. And for 3M, they hope their Olympic sponsorship helps sell products, but they're also pleased to see Olympic dreams coming true.
3M is calling their Olympic program Supporting the Dream, and even though they won't give us any specific numbers on how much that support has cost them, they say they've spent somewhere between $10 and $99 million helping support this Olympic effort. Wendy?
All right, thank you, Kate. And a lot of the 3M people are indeed in town here in Calgary. We've seen them about here. Stan and Ruth, I don't know about you, luge is a lot of fun to watch, but I think I'll stick to my flying saucer and the neighborhood hill.
Whole lot safer, yep. Forget that 80-mile-an-hour stuff. Thank you, Wendy. We'll check with you later. Tonight here on The Update, we begin for you a special report on AIDS.
Most of us think that unless we're gay or bisexual or addicted to drugs, we'll never be affected by AIDS. But that's not true. You don't have to have AIDS to be a victim of this disease. Tonight, as part of our ongoing effort to keep you informed on AIDS, we bring you a very close and a very personal look at this disease and those affected by its impact. Dr. Michael Breen has more now in this special assignment report. Mike?
Ruth, for every person who gets AIDS, there are families and friends who also suffer because of that disease. This is the story of two families. The Brush family, who lost their 38-year-old son to AIDS, and Carol Lefevre, who is dying of AIDS and who will leave behind her 9-year-old daughter, Teresa.
I don't believe dying is losing. I believe that dying is changing. And there certainly is some sadness and loss and great grief, but there also is something beyond that.
In 1984, Carol Lefevre experimented with intravenous drugs for just 2 months. She thought those days were behind her. Then last year, she found out she had AIDS. When Carol last got out of the hospital, she was told she had 2 months to live. That was over 6 weeks ago.
And that's, you know, that's kind of hard to hear, and it's hard for my friends to hear, and I certainly wanted to come home quick. If I only have 2 months, you know, no sense spending time in the hospital. My attitude is taking each day with Teresa as fully and completely as I can right now, every day. And sharing with her everything that we can share in the moment, so that as she grows, part of me, you know, will be hopefully with her. And in some level, I believe that I will know how she is. And I'm going to leave her a tape and a lot of things to remember me by. There's a lot about who I am, how I grew, and what I thought and what I felt that Teresa will probably forget. So I want her to be able to have something that she can play anytime she wants to find out what her mom thought or felt or was.
Audrey and Chuck Brush have also known the pain that AIDS can cause. At one point, their son Steve was married and he had a son. Steve was a Vietnam veteran, but Steve was also gay. Last year, when he developed AIDS, his family decided to treat him at home.
Some of my friends I felt didn't come over, and I felt the reason was because there was AIDS in the home.
What was your reaction?
Angry. Angry. Let down. Abandoned.
After 6 months, Steve died, with his family at his side on July 17th.
And he sat up and he looked at my mom and he said, "You just remember, I love you." And he laid down and he was gone. Yeah.
Those were his last words?
That was the last thing he said. He died knowing we were all there.
And Steve was fine. He's a fine man. He's one of the best. He was not only my stepson, he was my brother. He was not only my stepson, but he was my friend.
How do you feel about people who negate every positive thing that he did simply because he's gay?
I don't have any time for him. My dad always taught me, and he was a fine man. My dad always taught me to never laugh at ignorance and never laugh at stupidity, but it's virtually impossible sometimes because people are ignorant.
Though my son was gay, he was a special person. Maybe someone who might have a son who was into drugs could develop AIDS. You can't believe it can happen to you. I still can't believe it's happened.
Now, the Brush family says they're still bitter for the way they were treated during a very emotional time. Yet they say in the end, the experience with Steve brought them all closer together. 9-year-old Teresa Lefevre is getting special counseling to help her through this period. And Carol has made arrangements for Teresa to live with a friend following her death. Both families, Ruth, Stan, we'd like to point out, they agreed to talk to us only to let other people know just how devastating the impact of this disease can be.
And we thank both of those families very much, and let's hope that we can quell with these stories some of the fear that would keep people from being compassionate as they should be.
I completely agree. That's well said.
Thank you, Mike. By the way, KSTP is part of a nationwide effort called AIDS Lifeline. Because of that, we're going to bring you regular updates with the latest information on AIDS treatment and research and its impact on all of us.
Many parents are also worried that their kids will be getting meningitis. That's an infection that attacks the spinal cord. A meningitis outbreak is blamed for the death of a Bloomington 5th grader named Michael Gebhard. Doctors' offices were bombarded with calls today from worried parents. 6 meningitis cases have been confirmed now in Minnesota. As Dr. Michael Breen told our Angela Astor during our Live at 5 report this afternoon, a fairly reliable test to prove you don't have meningitis is by bending your head forward to touch your chest. Meningitis victims feel pain when they attempt that.
Dave Dahl is here next with the 5 First forecast for Thursday.
This is true. And you better have your pen and your paper ready. A bit later, we're going to show you who's in the running for this year's Oscars.
You're an amazing woman.
So how are we going to deal with the deficit? Nobody's told you. No other candidate will stand up and say, I'm going to do this. Now, what we ought to do is to have a spending freeze. But what it really means is that, say, 1989, we don't spend any more money than we spent in 1988. And then you're going to keep interest rates down. Then you're going to keep inflation rates down. Then you're going to find more jobs for more people of all ages. So the deficit's public enemy number 1.
Dole for president.
Normally, we'd buy a 30-second TV spot to tell you about Lasso herbicide,
like how you get excellent grass control in just one pass and save a trip across your fields. But since we're giving you this $2 a gallon rebate on bulk lasso, we had to cut this commercial short.
If you have an eye for exciting cars and an eye for value, then you'll want to see Grand Am. Now, at your Greater Metropolitan Pontiac dealers, your savings could total up to $1,310 when you buy a new specially equipped 1988 Pontiac Grand Am. With special factory savings, you could own, not lease, a new Grand Am with air conditioning, AM/FM stereo, and more for about $189 a month. Yes, $189 a month. See Grand Am now at your Greater Metropolitan Pontiac dealers. It's positively eye-catching.
There he is. The shoelace man was out and about today at another school. Gives away those beautiful Eyewitness News shoelaces.
On a beautiful day like today, it's, I don't mind going out and saying I'm an actual meteorologist or talk about the weather because it was just gorgeous
You weren't pelted or anything.
No, not at all. 30s all across the state today, and today was Adopt-A-School. This is the day when my family grows a little bit, and today it really grew. We were at Sonneson Elementary. That's in New Hope, but it's actually a part of the Robbinsdale School District, and I spoke with over 800 students in grades kindergarten through 6th grade. These are the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, and they were outstanding students. They really knew a lot about the weather, and I tried to help them out a little bit with a couple of experiments. We had a lot of fun today. A very good, well-behaved group. Partly cloudy skies for tonight. In the 5-1 forecast, 19 to 23 for overnight lows. Southwest winds at about 10 to 15. By the time you wake up tomorrow morning, a very pleasant start. Temperature right around 22. Partly cloudy skies. In the afternoon, we heat up again. Lots of melting, lots of slop, lots of slush. Make sure that windshield washer is full. Partly cloudy skies, 34 to 38, southwest winds at 10 to 15. Outside at the airport right now with a partly cloudy to clear sky. Our temperature is sitting at 32. The dew point 25. That's getting up there, 75% for the relative humidity. Southwest wind now at 13. The barometric pressure an even 30 inches, and that is steady. Today's high temperature, another great one, up to 36. That's 9 degrees above the average for the day. 20 this morning's low. And no snowfall officially out at the airport. A little bit of snow up in northern Minnesota. It was the wind. That was the problem. Up in Calgary today, winds gusting 40 to 50 miles per hour. Had to cancel some of the events, some of the Olympic events out there. In Southern California, it was also wind, but this is caused by a huge area of high pressure. That's over the Great Basin, causing winds of 50 to 60 miles per hour, especially right around Santa Ana. That knocked down trees and also knocked out some of the power there. Tomorrow's weather maker is going to be a wet one. Down to our south, a huge storm that's now in the southern part of Texas will spread rain from eastern Texas all the way up into southern Kentucky. As much as 2 to 3 inches could fall in some spots. But for us, a sunny day, high temperature near 37. Out in the east, 42 in New York. Not a bad day out there with a lot of sunshine. This cool front will gradually work in our directions and gradually cool down the temps, but not too much. Forecast for northern Minnesota for tomorrow calls for a mostly cloudy sky. Temperatures should be in the 30s. Another great day. The southern part of the state, lots of melting going on down here with temperatures well into the 30s. Could get close to 40 in some spots. Partly sunny skies. For the western part of Wisconsin, they're going to have partly cloudy, mostly sunny skies. If you prefer, 30s for highs there as well. Looking ahead then a little bit further, it gets better. Temperatures still in the 30s all the way through Friday into Saturday, but then cooling down a little bit for Sunday and Monday, with possibly some snow in there on Monday, but those temperatures are still very mild for this time of the year.
And only one little black cloud there.
That's
on
right.
Graphic.
Pretty good break there, kid. Yeah. Thank you.
Good deal, Dave. Still ahead, we're going to go back to Mark Curtis in the windy city of Calgary.
Yes, the U.S. rally came up just short tonight against the Russians. What a game. Mark has the sports right after this.
Good morning. Well, it's a great day if you're into traffic.
Introducing the all-new Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Once you've driven it, everything else is just traffic.
You know, there are a lot of reasons why your car might leak. Is your transmission shot? Maybe, maybe not. Now's the time to take your car to AMCO. They'll give your transmission the most complete diagnostic checkup in the industry. So if it's just a small problem, they'll spot it. Fact is, half the cars serviced by AMCO dealers don't need a new transmission. So chances are that little leak won't end up draining your wallet.
AMCO, AA, MCO.
Let's go back to Calgary now, the Winter Olympics with Mark Curtis live via News Star and more sports. Mark?
Ruth, how you doing tonight?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Well, except for the loss by the U.S. team, I'm doing pretty good. You know,
yeah, that's how we all feel.
I know. We were all sitting around the apartment back here tonight watching the game. I was watching with John Elliott. one of the many photographers we have up here, and I think he put it perfectly. He said, this is what these guys train for. Forget playing for the medal for a second. They dream of playing the Russians in an environment like this, playing them at the Olympics with a chance to beat them. That's what they dream about, but dreams die tough tonight for the U.S. hockey team. We'll take a look at the highlights now. Second period action. Soviets up 3-1. U.S. on the attack, and watch number 10, Corey Millen, passes to Alan Bourbeau, and Bourbeau scores to make it 3-2. But then the Russians put her into high gear. Still second period, 3-on-2 break. Keon Kastanov feeds Valery Kamensky for the goal. Soviets would build a 6-2 lead. But the U.S. came back strong with 3 straight. This one thanks to a couple of Minnesotans, Guy Goslin of Rochester to Todd Okerlund of Burnsville. He puts it in to make it 6-5. The U.S. put on the heat late, but then the backbreaker with 2 minutes to go. Valchev Fedosov beats Chris Terreri as the Soviets went on to win the game 7-5. Now we want to take you over to Rob Lear, who was at tonight's game. Rob, 2 losses now for Team USA. What next?
Well, they can ill afford any more, Mark. A valiant finish for the Americans tonight, but simply put, if they lose again, they are finished from any chance at all of winning a medal here in Calgary. The United States, simply too many mistakes on defense. Simply put, when you look at the way that the Soviets were moving the puck tonight, and 4 of their 7 goals were scored by defensemen, it's a perfect illustration of just how lax the U.S. were on the defensive end of their own rink, and that simply put them out of the contention as they are in this game here tonight in Calgary. Now, how about the team and the players? What do they think? Well, I talked to Bob Johnson moments ago about tonight's 7-5 loss at the Saddle Dome.
When it was 6-5, we needed a lucky goal. I mean, you know, we needed one off a rear end or off a skate, and we hit the pipe, but we needed one of those goals to make it 6-6, and that's how you beat them. You know, you get them disorganized, and I thought we had them disorganized, but the kids worked hard, and their job now is a tough one, is to regroup and win the next 2 games, and got to beat West Germany by a couple of goals and get in the medal round, and then become the spoiler in the medal round.
They've surprised some countries, but now again, the U.S. is in the situation of having to play the role of spoiler. Mark?
Rob, thanks so much. Good job tonight. As we mentioned to you at 6 o'clock, and I don't know if you can see it up here on the porch, but wind, take it from me, has been a problem today. They had wind gusts of 55 to 60 miles an hour just 15 minutes from here at the luge and the ski jump venues. Needless to say, when you're talking about events like this, a gust of wind at the wrong time could be disastrous. So it's been tentatively rescheduled for tomorrow. You can see from these pictures just how bad it was. Wasn't much better up at Nikiska. In fact, they had to push the start of the men's slalom back until late this afternoon. The story there was Switzerland's Permin Zurbigen, who had a chance to win his 2nd gold medal, but you can see there he fell during the slalom of the men's combined, so Zurbigen will not sweep the gold in all of the ski events. All right, you talk about a miracle finish. Gophers were at home tonight against Michigan. The Wolverines are ranked number 2 in the Big Ten. They're one of the best teams in the country, so if the Gophers could have pulled this off tonight, it would have been a tremendous victory. Gophers did a lot of things well tonight against the Wolverines. Here, Willie Burton goes inside. He had a good first half. He finished the game with 26 points. Now, as expected, Michigan's guards put on a show. Off the turnover, Gary Grant goes in for the slam. He and Glenn Rice combined for 47 points tonight as Michigan beats Minnesota 82-78 despite a great rally in the end by the Gophers. Now, there was hockey up here tonight, as we mentioned, but there was also hockey back in the Twin Cities. North Stars going up against the L.A. Kings. The Stars trying to climb out of the basement in the Norris division. Second period, Kings leading the game 3-2. Puck comes out of the corner. Dino Cicerelli gets off a soft backhander, but it beats Rome Melanson. That tied the game at 3. Dino had 2 goals tonight, but the Kings came back to tie it and then won the game late, winning it 5-4. So the heartbreak continues for the North Stars.
Yeah, not a good night for hockey at all. But the U.S. hopes are still alive.
I think they're still alive, but they're going to really have to kick it into high gear, as Robbie said.
All right, thanks. Thanks a lot, Mark. You know, coming up in a moment, we're going to tell you what stories we're covering tomorrow here in Calgary. And Stan Turner will tell you who's in the running for the movie industry's version of the Olympics. That's next on The Update.
Save 3 ways at Towsley Ford and Towsley Subaru. It's a gigantic red, white, and blue tag sale through this Monday only. You'll find big discounts on every red tag car and truck. Bigger discounts on all white tag vehicles. Our biggest discounts on every blue tag vehicle. Blue tag Festivas and Subaru Justis are reduced to $55.88. $55.88 for a brand new car. Over 1,000 vehicles tagged. Every car and truck in stock. Follow the searchlight till 10 every night at Towsley Ford and Towsley Subaru, White Bear Lake.
The Drug and Alcohol Test, brought to you by Care Unit. Until recently, even doctors believed that cocaine addiction meant just a psychological dependence. Is cocaine physically addictive as well? The answer after this.
If you have a drinking problem, you probably have a disease, a progressive disease that weakens the structure of the family, that undermines the love that's the foundation of the family, that can tear the family apart and destroy everything you built together. A progressive disease called alcoholism. So next time you feel like reaching for a drink, reach for the phone instead. Call Care Unit. Nobody cares the way we do.
The mother of this newborn baby is a cocaine addict. The baby was born addicted to and is suffering withdrawal from the drug. We're just now beginning to learn about the long-term effects of cocaine on the children of addicted mothers. Painful lessons in the drug and alcohol test.
Okay, it's time. Get set. Get ready to take notes here. Here we go with the nominations for this year's Academy Awards. The Last Emperor leads the Best Picture category with 9 Oscar nominations, but none in acting. Broadcast News totals 7 nominations with William Hurt, Holly Hunter, and Elbert Brooks all up for acting awards. Fatal Attraction is up for 6 Oscars, including Glenn Close and Ann Archer for acting. And Moonstruck earned 6 nominations as well, with Cher in the running for Best Actress. The 5th Best Picture nominee is John Borman's Hope and Glory. The other nominees for Best Actor, Michael Douglas, Marcello Mastroianni, Jack Nicholson, and Robin Williams. And for Best Actress, Meryl Streep and Sally Kirkland. And don't you dare forget, the Oscars will be awarded on April 11th, and you'll see it right here on Channel 5. You got to be watching.
Only seen 2 of those Best Picture nominations.
I haven't seen any of them yet. I got to get busy.
We got to go.
Yeah.
Back to Calgary now, live via News Star. And Mark and Wendy, what's up for tomorrow?
Well, coming up tomorrow, we're going to tell you about an almost bearable story. It's about the 2 mascots here in Calgary, Heidi and Howdy. They're polar bears. They're really 2 teenagers, and we're going to tell you how they spend their day.
Also, just want to remind you, coming up tomorrow, the men's 1,000-meter speed skating. Nick Thomas will be skating in that. Women's downhill, women's luge. Stan and Ruth, we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Good night from Calgary.
All right, thank you. Hope the wind dies down a little bit, huh?
Yeah, so they can ski.
Right up. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
I've been doing his chores for the last year and a half. He rides 500 miles a week. It's the least I can do.
At 3M, we know that dreams, like ideas, won't live without the support of others. So as you watch the 1988 Olympic Games, remember nobody got there alone. 3M, supporting the dream.
I don't know where to start telling you about Mazda trucks. They've been rated first in customer satisfaction 2 years in a row. They've got the best warranty in the truck business. It covers you bumper to bumper. This sporty new SE5 is even priced close to Toyota and Nissan's base trucks. So I don't know where you start. I guess it doesn't make any difference. You wind up here.
This is the Mazda way.
See your Mazda dealer in Minnetonka, White Bear, St. Paul, Richfield, and Brooklyn Center.
We aren't all cut out to be Olympic champions. But that doesn't mean you can't get out there and have a good time. Just remember to maintain your dignity. And keep in mind that Blue Cross and Blue Shield covers the heroes right here at home, as well as the ones on the American team. With quality service that's about as tough to beat as you are. Do you have Blue Cross?
You are watching KSTP, your Olympic station.
Good evening. I'm Ted Koppel. Nightline will be seen